Humesh and Rashi. We're in the Torah portion of Noach. We are the fourth reading. Noach is, the flood is over. All right, what a relief. Okay. We're chapter 8, verse number 15. And God spoke to Noach, saying, go out of the ark, Ata you, and your wife. You notice his wife is next to him, right? As it was not that way before when they went in. Vanecha and your sons, and Banecha and the wives of your sons, Itach together with you. Rashi in 16. You and your wife, Ish man and his wife, but Kan Hiter, Lahim Tashmish Shemita, here they were permitted to have relations. Because God said, go out, and he brought them together, right, before they were separated.
Well, you think these people had other children that they're just not mentioning?
Well, Chumash and Rashi, no.
No, I know that.
Right. Okay, Mikol Chaya She'itach, and all of the creatures that are with you, Mikol Basar, of all flesh, Ba'oif, of birds, Behema, domesticated animal, Remes, and all creatures that crawl, ala aretz, on the ground. That they'll lead to go out with you, Itach together with you. Visharatsu. No, that was the one I said, not the one that's in the wall, the one that's in the one that's in on the ground. There was a sorry. Okay, thank you. No, that's why I gave him the phone. All right. Itach together with you, and that they swarm the earth, and they're fruitful and multiply, and they should be fruitful. Okay. 17 in Rashi. Hayetze, they go out. Hayetze, ksiv, it's written. Hayetze, which means to take out. Hayetze kri, but it's read. Hayetze. Hayetze emar lahem v'yetzu. So Hayetze implies to tell them that they should go out. Hayetze. But Haitzi means that they didn't want to go out, and you should take them out. They didn't want to go out. Yeah. Had a good life there. Exactly. The shots about it, and they swarm the earth, but not in the ark. Magid tells us that the animals and the birds, they also didn't have relations in the ark. Hear that, Shimon Leib?
Yeah.
So how would they have children? Huh? Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you. So Shimon Leib, if they couldn't have relations, how would they have children?
Or
there is a certain people that believe that without relations you can have.
I can't hear you if you don't look at me.
I say there are certain people that believe that without relations you can make a god, but we don't believe in that. Right?
They couldn't have relations.
How could they have children?
In the ark.
Yeah, we're talking about in the ark.
To the ark.
Oh, they didn't have anybody else. No.
Only had 3.
Yeah, and their spouses.
They didn't have TV like we have. That occupied it.
Shimon Leib.
Got dark. And
Shimon,
what are we gonna do?
don't go dark. Don't go dark.
Let's focus on Rashi. Huh? Let's focus on Rashi.
Okay. Verse verse 18. And he went out, Noach ubanav and his sons, Veishtay, and his wife, and Shevanav Itay, and the wives of his sons together with him. Kol Achaya, and all of the creatures. Kol Harem is on all that creepy crawlers, and all of the birds. Kol Remis Alar, it's all that that move on the earth. Mishpachai Sehem, according to their families, Yotsu Minateva, they went out of the ark. Rashi, sorry. Yeah, Rashi 19. Lemishpachai Sehem, by their families. That's a term that we didn't use before, right? Before it was according to their type. Remember? Leminahem, to their type. Here it's according to their families. Kiblu alehem, took about themselves, amenas, in the on condition, the David b'minam, they would cleave to their own species. Okay. Rashi in 20. Even Noach, and Noach built Mizbeach, an altar Lashem, to God. V'yikach, and he took Mikol, of all Abehema, from all of the animals Hatahira that are pure, or Mikol Ha'if, and from all of the birds that were pure. V'yal Elas, and he brought burnt offerings B'Mizbeach on the altar. Rashi in 20. Mikol Abehema Hatahira, from every pure animal. Amar Leitziva L'Yakadosh Baruch Hu, he said that God didn't command me to take 7 of by 7 of the pure ones, but except the only reason was to bring an offering from them. Okay. 21. V'yarach, and he smelled. Hashem, God smelled. He's Jewish, so he's got a big nose.
Not Jewish yet.
God's not Jewish yet?
Oh, but who?
God.
We don't know if God's Jewish
Huh?
God's not. He's not a living thing, but
He's not.
just a
He is
spirit.
the living thing. Yeah. So God smelled the pleasant fragrance. And Hashem said Aliboy in his heart. In other words, he didn't say this to Noach, he said it to himself. But we have insider trading over here. I will not continue lekalel, to curse. Oid, further is Adama, the earth, ba'avor Adam, because of man, because the inclination of the heart, ha'adam, of man, Ra, is evil. B'menura, from his youth. And I will not continue further, lahakais, to smite. Is called chai, all of creatures, kasher asisi, as I did. I'm not going to do it anymore. Minurav. So, Minurav, it says, but it's written Minarav, Ksiv, but it's written Minarav. Right? What does that teach us? Kisheninar, that from the time that he stirs, let's say, from May Imai, to out of his mother's from the womb of the mother, Nitan bo hara, he's given an evil inclination. That's when it's put into him, right? I was already in utero. The fetus has in the womb of the mother an evil inclination. That's a play on the words. When it first stirs, which is in the womb, from its youth. What's youth mean? What age is youth? Right. So it means already. As a matter of fact, Shimon Levi, remember that when you came out of your mother's womb, you cried. And you weren't crying.
What I did yesterday.
Well, but I'm reminding you. Why did you cry? You didn't cry because someone was hungry down the block. You didn't cry because of someone else's, misfortune. You cried because of your misfortune leaving the comfort of your mother's womb, and you were hungry. It was all about you. That's very interesting. That's what Rashi just said over here. That from utero already, right? You already have, you're just self-concerned, which is the animal soul, right? Self-preservation, right? Self-preservation, survival. So God's now saying, I'm not blaming you for that. After all, he made us that way. If it says twice not to continue. Kafla davar, he repeated the matter, l'shvua, as an oath. In other words, he gave it a force of an oath. V'husha kasav, and that's what's written, shenish baiti ma'avur me'naya, which I swore by the waters of Noach. This is an Isaiah verse. We didn't find an oath there, but this shekafel dvara, because he repeated his words. That's a language of an oath when you repeat. Likewise, our sages say in the Talmud. Okay, let's truck. 22. Oid kol yemei haaret. Further, continuously, kol yemei, all the days of the earth. Zer v'kotzer v'kor v'choyim v'kayitz v'chayre v'yoyim v'layla lo yishbaisu. Seed time, harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. Let's see Rashi. What does this mean over here? All right, so Rashi says, so all the days of the earth, it shall not cease. Shisha itim halalu. There's 6 seasons, right? The 6 seasons, the verse says. 2 months for each season. Like we learned, the half of Tishrei, which we just finishing today, is the 30th of Tishrei, right? So half of Tishrei, in other words, from Sukkot onwards, Omar Cheshvan, the whole month of Mar Cheshvan, Chetzi Kislev, and half of Kislev, Zera, that's seed time, right? Not here in Montreal, but in the Middle East, that's seed time. Okay? Chetzi Kislev, half of Kislev, Tevis, and all of Tevis, Chetzi Shvat, and half of Shvat, Kor, that's cold time. Metzia, as it says in the Talmud. Kor, Kashmir Chayr. Kor means harsher than winter. Chayrif, Eitz Zeres Eirim. What does it mean? Winter? Winter is the time to sow barley, the kidneys and legumes. The Charifim Lizbasha Maher, because they ripen very quickly in a short time. Chetzi Shvat, and that's the half of Shvat. Ba'adar, the Chetzi Nisan, right? That's right before spring. That's kind of the end of the winter, right? Katzir, Chetzi Nisan, that's harvest time, is half of Nisan, and V'ir, the Chetzi Sivan, and half of Sivan. Not harvesting then wheat and barley, and the legumes. Kayitz, Chetzi Sivan, summer is half of Sivan, Tammuz, and Chetzi Av, and half of Av. Behuzman, Lekitzas Te'enim, that's the time of gathering figs. Uzman and Yashim, that's when you dry the figs, Besodas in the fields. Ushmai Kayitz, and it's called Kayitz. Why is it called Kayitz? Summer. Because that's the word for figs. So Lechem the Kayitz, Lechol Na'arim, the red and dry figs, because that's when you dry figs. So that's connected with the word summer.
Oh, the whole fig is connected with the word summer?
Yeah. Kayitz is a fig, and Kayitz is summer.
Where did you get 6 seasons?
Look at the verse, and he's elaborating each season now.
I
Follow
can see cold.
the verse. The verse says it.
No, it says
Boim, heat,
cold, winter, Harvest,
Okay, bro.
summer.
Okay.
Heat.
So we're now heat. We're going now into heat. Husayf Yimei Sachama. That's the end of the summer. Chetzi Av, half of Av, Elul, the month of Elul, V'Chetzi Tishrei, and Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur until Sukkot. Yeah, and you know Sukkot, things start to change. Actually, the world is hotter then. As we learn that we're talking about in the Middle East, not here, right? Shali Kaita, the end of the summer, Kashi Kaita is harsher than the summer itself. Day and night shall not cease. From here, it's implied that day and night did cease for the 40 days of the flood. The constellation did not function as heavenly bodies, did not shine. Then it was not discernible between day and night. All of these will not end anymore from conducting themselves in the normal natural pattern that God set the world. Okay?
So they were disrupted.
They were disrupted. Exactly. Okay. Chapter 9, verse 1. Vayivarech Elokim, and God blessed his Noach his Banav and his sons. V'yomer lehem, it says in Revu, be fruitful and multiply, milu others, and fill the earth. Umarachem, and your fear, v'chitchem, and their dread, yiyeh al kol chayes haaretz, will be upon all of the beasts of the field, kol eif hashemayim, and all birds of heaven, of the skies, right? The whole asher tirmais adama, and all that you will, and all that crawl on the land, of the whole degei hayam, and all of the fish of the sea, the yetchem will be placed in your hands. Nidonu are given. In other words, you're master. You're the master. Verse number 2 in Rashi. Chitchem, the dread, Meimaschem, the terror of you, al tirach achitas, right? The Agada, and the Agadic explanation is Lashon Chios is a life force. Shekol Zman, Shatinik Ben Yaimeh, then when an infant is a day old, Chai, he's alive. You don't need to guard him, Mina Akbarim, from mice. Oig Melech Bashan, but Oig, who was a giant, king of Bashan, mates, when he died, Tzarech l'shomer, you have to guard him. Minag barim, from mice, because mice are gonna, right? In other words, when you die, animals are gonna come after you, right? When you're alive, even 1 day old, a mouse isn't coming after you because there's life in you, and that's what it means. It means life and fear. In life, there's fear of the animal kingdom on humans. One with the fear of breathing, is over the beast, whenever you're alive, but not after death. Interesting.
Is this a change in the animal kingdom? Because
good question.
God told.
Good question. I don't have an answer to that. I don't. Good question. We're gonna truck. Sorry, but a good. I don't know. It seems like it is from the fact the verse is saying that. Kol remes asher hu chai, any moving creature that is alive, lachem, for you, will be for you, lachla to eat it, esev, like the plant of vegetation, lesati lachem es kol, I have given to you everything. Okay, Rashi, lachem yalacha, it's good for you to eat. I didn't allow Adam to eat meat. Ela yerek esav, but only herbs and greenery. But to you, ki yerek esav, I'm giving it to you like the herbal greenery. Shivkarti, because I have relinquished Adam Rishon, for Adam, the first man, and Asadi Lachem is called, I've given you everything. Adam was not allowed to eat meat.
Which number are you on? Which number is you on?
Now 4.
4?
However, but flesh of the soul, its blood you should not eat. Don't eat its blood. Rashi in 4, the flesh with its soul, also them, he forbade them, meaning a limb from, don't detach a limb from a live animal. Kalaimar calls while the soul is in the animal, do not eat its flesh. Others, it has to be killed first. Before, yeah, this is the 7th law.
Yeah.
6 were given to Adam, and this is the 7th. Its soul is its blood, but when the soul is still within it, the flesh of the soul you should not eat. This is a prohibition of eating a limb that was detached from a living animal. And in addition, the verse is understood, its blood with the soul shall not eat. You have a prohibition here of eating blood taken from an animal while it's alive. Not allowed to do. Okay, verse number 5. But, however, your blood, right? For your souls. That was the animal. That was speaking about animals, right? Now we're speaking about human blood, right? Edresh, I will demand miyad from the hands of kol chaya edreshenu, from every beast I will demand it. Or miyad adam. In other words, we'll see. In other words, a beast is going to kill a human. Or miyad adam, or from a human that's going to kill a human. Miyad ish achiv, that of a man for his brother. Edresh, I will demand es nefesh ha'adam, the soul of that person. Let's see Rashi. Okay. Achas dimchem, but your blood, even though I permitted for you nitilas neshama, taking the soul, killing, but behema, with regard to animals, I now permitted you. Adam wasn't able to do, but I permitted you now that you can eat animal meat, right? I will demand your blood, the one who spills. Okay. The first thing is speaking about someone to commit suicide. You take your own life, I'm going to demand from you as a result, right? That's committing suicide. Because here it's speaking your blood, not someone else's blood. That's the first thing in the verse, right? Of your souls, even someone strangles himself to even though blood did not come from him. It says, your blood don't take. Well, he strangled himself, there's no blood. So, but it says, for your soul and others, if you take your soul away, if you commit suicide, I'm going to, demand from you. In other words, in the afterlife, I'm going to demand from you. Right? Miyad kol chaya, of every beast, vishachotu doramabo. What does it mean of every beast? Because the generation of the flood sinned, v'ufguru, and they cast loose Michael chayas rois to be food for evil beasts. Nishleit behem, for the beast to rule over them. So interesting. Shenamar, as it says, nimshal kabeim nidmu, because we were dominated, because we were comparable to animals. Therefore, the Torah needed to say lahazir aleim as a to warn the beast regarding killing people. Others, I guess, at one point, feel this is going with suicide, right? In other words, I'm not interesting. I won't commit suicide, but I'll put myself in a position where I'll get killed. So I didn't do it. The animal did it. No, that's not going to happen.
Did you say I'll pour myself in the what?
That's the way I'm understanding. I mean, I'll be fodder for the wild animal, right?
Putting yourself intentionally in danger.
Yeah, I'm not certain if I'm not certain. Maybe it could just be that the animals, because other animals previously were wild enough to kill, You know, there still are, but
They're still wild enough to be killed.
to kill.
Many of them.
Yeah. Okay, I'm not exactly clear. Okay, biyad adam, by man. What does that mean? Miyad aheret b'mezid, someone who kills intentionally. There's no witnesses to his killing. Ani edrash, I will demand. In other words, if there's witnesses, he's going to be brought to court. Then I don't need to come after him. But if there's no witnesses, that's what the verse is talking about. I will demand his life. Ish, miyad ish achiv, a man for his brother. This is speaking kishu oyev is ka'ach. He loves him like a brother. And he killed him unintentionally. I will demand the soul of this person. If he was not, if he didn't go into exile, and seek that his sin be forgiven. For even someone who sins intentionally, tzarich kapara requires atonement. So it's speaking about all different situations.
You see, he's already giving a Torah.
Yeah, totally. In one verse here. If there are no witnesses, to obligate him to go into exile, and he doesn't submit himself, in others voluntarily go into exile. Maybe the city of refuge, right? That's what it's speaking about, right? God's going to demand from him. As our sages expound, that God brought it to his hand, as it says in the Talmud, others, someone who unintentionally killed somebody, so God will bring him to an inn, and then someone will, who's on a ladder, will fall on him and accidentally kill him, and so on. In other words, God will have his ways on how to bring justice to the person who unintentionally killed somebody, but didn't then follow up by going into exile, into the city of refuge. Which leads me to wonder if this law has to do also with non-Jews. Okay, let's go very quickly so we can finish. Shefer dam ha'adam ba'adam. So the blood of whoever intentionally sheds human blood, damo yishafech, his blood should be shed. Ki b'tzelem elikim, because in the image of God, ases adam, he made man. Let's see Rashi. Adam, damo yishafech, among man, his blood shall be shed. Im yeshin, if there's witnesses that he did something intentionally to kill, right? And you have to put him to death. Lama, why do you have to do that? Because man is made in the image of God. This verse is incomplete. As it should say, Asa Adam, the maker made man. There's many, sometimes, they're incomplete, the verse. Atem, but as for you, pru uravu, be fruitful, and you should proliferate the earth, and make it populous. Rashi in 7, come to simple meaning. The first time, be fruitful and multiply, was said to Noach, lebracha, was for a blessing. But here's a commandment, because he already told them when he came out of the ark to be fruitful and multiply. So that was a blessing. Here, this is a command that you have to fulfill. The feed midrash, but according to midrash, fruitful and multiply is repeated over here in juxtaposition to the punishment of murder, lahakish, to make a comparison. Someone doesn't engage in reproduction to have children as if they shed blood. Whoa. Fascinating. Okay.